Studio by James Creedon, who is doing Media Watch for us this evening. Good evening to you, James. Now, we're going to be looking at the battle for Tripoli, which has kind of been big news online, especially on Twitter, and something that you've pointed out in particular, the mistakes that have been made. Gaddafi's apparently been announced dead on Twitter, and obviously we've been talking about the fact that Saif al-Islam was captured when actually he reappeared.
Exactly. So, I mean, the story keeps changing, and I think on microblogging sites like Twitter, you have to be very careful of the news of that's coming out of Libya. So, in fact, verified live blogs like France 24's live blog, which has been live blogging now for 24 hours a day for the last number of days on this, are probably better places to go for information like this. Our verified correspondents on the ground are Catherine Norris-Trent is there, and other websites such as Storyful have been doing a very good job of collating and I suppose sorting through a very noisy Twitter feed, for example, of information coming out of Libya, because in fact, since the internet has been back up and running over the last number of days, a lot of information, extra information has been coming out, extra pictures, extra tweets, etc. But not all of it, as you were saying, verified. And those pictures that we see in Le Parisien's website of Saif al-Islam miraculously appearing just hours after he was announced captured by the National Transitional Council and confirmed by the International Criminal Court, these pictures, I suppose, remind us that we have to be very careful of some of the news that is coming out of Libya at the moment. So websites such as Storyful are collating and sorting through a lot of that information coming out of Libya at the moment. And you can see there that, you know, there are a lot of iconic pictures as well that we're getting through the rolling news channels such as France 24 and others. People trying to pull down this golden fist statue, an iconic moment if that comes to pass. And some people being sort of jocular about that, such as this person on Twitter, Yes Biscuit. Has anyone checked inside that huge ass gold fist statue thingy for Gaddafi? Because of course the hunt is on for Colonel Gaddafi now that the rebels have got into his compound. So and there are pictures here. Another extraordinary photo that was I think on Sky News is this particular gentleman in Gaddafi's golden embroidered hat and chain, and Sky Italia has been playing those pictures. Of course, many websites and blogs and Twitter have still frames and pictures of that. That was earlier with Alex Crawford from Sky News. So all of the rolling news channels coming out with pictures like that. Slate was trying to collate pictures that are slightly older at this point because, of course, things are changing at such a rapid pace that the photos that seem to represent matters just a few hours ago are now out of date. These are journalists holed up in the Rixos Hotel in the what was then Gaddafi-controlled area of Tripoli. Perhaps that is no longer the case. Things are changing so very quickly. But I suppose all of this, to come back to the point I was making earlier, you have to be very careful of the information that you are seeing online. And this website here, The Next Web, reminds us of that. Where to go for trusted web coverage of the Libyan uprising. And they point internet users and media scourers to, I suppose, the more reliable live blogging websites such as The Guardian, the National Public Radio, The Telegraph, and I think it's fair to say our live blog, which is doing a very good job at that as well. Worth pointing out too, this website where The Next Web rather says that there are certain Twitter users or Twitter collators, such as Andy Carvin of National Public Radio, who has been extremely efficient at sorting through information right throughout the Arab Spring, that feeds such as this, his Twitter feed, are very useful, and he verifies most things, if not everything, and points people towards I suppose interesting information online.
And images are really kind of the key thing here, because they are probably going to become some of the historic images that we
and this is
associate with what's
this
going
is
to
where
happen.
Twitter cannot compete with rolling news channels, I suppose, because the pictures really do speak 1,000 words on a day like today, and just each of those moments where you see, and I think it was on our live blog earlier, they showed rebels driving around in a little in what they called a Mario Kart. I'm not sure if we can find it now, but it was they're just incredible photos being uploaded all the time. I think this is it here, actually. Yes.
Oh yes.
I lost it now, but there you go. Extraordinary extraordinary pictures being uploaded onto live blogging websites. There it is. So this is really what matters on a day like this, where news is changing so quickly. And Twitter really, while it can, I suppose, give you very up-to-date information and screenshots and links to pictures, it is still the pictures that count.
But one very reliable source is, of course, our very own Catherine Norris-Trent, who's tweeting from inside the compound now. That's where she is in Tripoli.
Absolutely extraordinary, and I think any journalists who are on the ground there, hats off to them. Now, of course, there's a lot of analysis online too of what has happened, what is happening, what will happen. This is in Le Monde, and they call it Nicolas Sarkozy's war. Now, what they're saying here is he learnt the names of the various suburbs of all of the different towns in Libya that were caught up in this conflict. He knew the topography of the front lines of the towns of Brega and of Misrata. He studied the maps of roads leading into Tripoli. He was extremely interested in the details of this war, and he saw it as something that he would be remembered for in future. In fact, he made comparisons in private with Mitterrand, who was president in France through most of the 80s and early 90s, and his war, quote unquote, in Bosnia, Chirac and his war in Afghanistan. And Sarkozy, according to Le Monde's reading of things, was mindful of, I suppose, his place in history, with this being his war.
Well, indeed, France was the first country to recognise the rebels' National Transitional Council.
Absolutely, and Sarkozy was central in initiating the coalition and the whole movement, indeed. And Bernard-Henri Lévy, he's also in the media at the moment. This is foreign policy. Is this Bernard-Henri Lévy, is it his best week ever? Because remember, just back in spring of this year, Bernard-Henri Lévy was being much criticised for having encouraged Sarkozy to go into, or to, I suppose, support the Libyan conflict. And when things didn't seem to be progressing very quickly. And also he came out as a very vocal supporter of Dominique Strauss-Kahn. And both, I suppose, of those two stories have worked out quite well from his point of view this week. Dominique Strauss-Kahn, of course, having been declared free earlier today. So they're saying, is this his best week ever? And indeed, Bernard-Henri Lévy, who partly convinced Sarkozy to intervene in Libya, said that Sarkozy did for Libya what Mitterrand did not do for Bosnia. That is a line of his that is being quoted in the Le Monde article actually earlier. And so a lot of people looking at that historical aspect of things, the decision to go into Libya, whether it was the right decision or not. In The Atlantic here you have Shadi Hamid. He is a director of research at the Brookings Doha Centre. Now he is wondering what the lessons of the Libyan intervention are. Perhaps all of this seems a little bit
early, isn't it?
It does seem a little bit premature, but not alone are we seeing up-to-date, I suppose, details about what is happening as Tripoli is being taken by the rebels. But we're seeing a lot of analysis too of the lessons that could be drawn from this broader conflict. So what he says really is that it confirms the reality that the role of external actors can still be decisive in the Arab struggle for freedom. He also says that it is difficult to deny that the alternative to doing doing nothing, would almost certainly have led to a massacre in Benghazi. And indeed, perhaps it vindicates the decision that Bernard-Henri Lévy, Nicolas Sarkozy, and indeed NATO took to intervene in what would otherwise have been a bloody and tragic massacre. So there you go, a lot of analysis too of that decision, and some saying that perhaps this has proved that intervention in some way, shape or form was the right decision.
All right, James Creedon, thank you very much. That was tonight's Media Watch. Well, do stay with us. The latest news headlines are coming up after the weather. Don't go away.
Watch all of France 24 on France24.com. It now features more content and is quicker and easier to use. 24 hours a day, wherever you are, visit our website and catch up on all the latest news. Watch the channel in high definition. Pause live TV and watch programs from the past 24 hours at the click of a button. Find our reports, programs and web documentaries in seconds. All of France 24 in French, English and Arabic on France24.com.